You talked a lot about your anxiety and especially your nerves when you were coming up on SNL.
Mm-hmm.
How you never, I mean, I don't know how long it took for you to get comfortable, if
Never.
at all. Right.
Yeah, never really.
It seems like that kind of comes through a lot in Barry. Did you specifically write him for?
No, it's so funny. You go and you write and do this show, and then it's not until it comes out that you realize, like, oh, this is about this, you know. And I didn't really consciously realize like how much of it is about my experience on Saturday Night Live, or just in general, just so I can relate to a guy wanting a community and that anxious feeling, which is kind of good when you're writing a show like this, because your mind just immediately goes to like the worst case scenario. And so I'm like, it would be the worst possible thing that could happen right now, and you just write that.
You were a guy I'd see. I mean, everyone had their own things, but we'd all often see you just be like walking the halls, like running character, like doing voices, finding the tack, and it was really cool to see you work.
Yeah, constantly walking, constantly pacing, and I still do that in the writer's room. I just pace in circles when I'm working, and then running the script over and over and over again, because you have one shot to land it and you just want it to be right. And so that would kind of alleviate some anxiety. It was like, if I'm more prepared, then I'm feeling a bit better. But I'm glad you guys like it. Other people found it kind of disconcerting.
No.
They were like, what is up with this dude?
No, I mean, you're just clear. I mean,
this guy's about to explode.
I get kind of anxious, especially when I'm in front of like a big group of people. It was just week by week having to say, okay, how am I going to work through this, I see it when I watch my performances. I kind of I want to cover my face, or I kind of, I'm always like this because when I talk, because it's just your adrenaline's pumping. And once I would kind of relax, it would get better. But yeah, it was terrible. And I did transcendental meditation, which that helped. I actually had a doctor say, you should drink. And I had a doctor tell me I should drink, and I was like, okay, well, this guy's, nuts. Yeah, he said, have a drink, relax. And then he was like, try sleeping with me and my wife. I, since I was a very young kid, had really bad anxiety my whole life. I've dealt with, having to take everything from... if I knew there was a big test, to getting on the school bus and doing that by myself, or any of those things, I just didn't think I would be able to do it. And there was always a little voice in my head telling me, here's all the things that could go wrong. And what helped me was learning that it doesn't really go away. You manage it. And instead of pushing away your anxiety, and I always imagine my anxiety as this little monster that would kind of attack my face or pull at my ears, or, and instead of pushing that thing away and trying to fight it, I would just go, hey, buddy. It was like a little monkey, and I would just kind of go, okay, here, let's sit on my shoulder, let's hang out, let's just chill out, there it is. And so every time I would get nervous, I would just become friends with it. I know that sounds kind of corny, maybe, or a little silly, but it's true. It helped it kind of alleviate, that fear. And I don't push it away. Put your arm around it and go, oh, there you are. I knew you'd be there someplace. Let's go take that test. Let's go get on the bus. Let's figure it out. And I wish I had done that when I was younger. I think I would have done better in school. I think I would have done a little bit better in social situations, and I wouldn't have lived life afraid. And so not fighting it, that's a big thing. And the other thing I learned was to take out the narrative of it, meaning, oh my gosh, I have a test. I'm nervous because I have a test. Take out, I have a test. And just go, oh, I'm nervous. And then you say, oh, I'm just nervous. And just think about that. Just go, oh, I'm panicking right now. I have anxiety. And that's fine. A lot of people have it. And then you go, oh, okay, I have a test. Okay, but I don't have a test. I don't have anything. I'm just nervous. And then it'll kind of, this is me nervous. And then it'll kind of go away. But you can manage it, and you can figure it out, and doing it when you're younger is the best. To have those tools when you're younger is indispensable, and I wish I had done it. But if I can do it at the age of, when I figured it out really was when I was 37, you guys can figure it out, I think, as well. All right, we got this.
John can also attest how anxious I would get before things. I would get very, very scared.
And I have panic attack disorder as well. So
we both are very panicky.
No, I mean in all seriousness.
No, in all seriousness, we have like real it's a thing you kind of just manage your whole life. I do TM, I do meditation. I honestly, it's like it's like all the kind of fun things, like I don't drink anymore, and like all these things you have to like really like to work, like exercise, not to like look better, but just to like not be a basket case. I mean, to be like this, like loose with my friend John up in front of all these people, just then when I saw that balcony up there, I was like, and it was and it almost was just saying it, just going, oh my gosh, look at all those people. That alleviates it in a weird way. Like, oh man, I got to a place where I remember I had a therapist, and I was like, what do I do? She's like, just say it. And I remember just turning to John before I would have to do update or something and being like, I am so nervous.
Yeah.
You know? And that, like, you're saying it, you're admitting it, you don't. And then the thing is, Jeff Bridges told me a story when he hosted. He goes, he could tell I was nervous. And he said he had worked with Robert Ryan on Iceman Cometh when he was a young guy. And he said Robert Ryan would break out into a sweat before every take. And he said, why do you do that? And he goes, oh, I'd be really afraid if I wasn't afraid, you know? And that you should use that.
Comedian Bill Hader is soft-spoken, self-effacing, and gentle above all else.
Arthur E. Hader enlisted April 11th, 1917.
He wasn't drafted, man. He enlisted. He chose to fight.
We are not alike.
How do you feel about this guy?
He's, man, I can't believe I'm related to him. Like, I'm afraid to get on the freeway in L.A.
Now, this is a report from the archives of the United States Army, dated October 21st, 1918.
Yeah. Now he's sounding like a hater. This is good.
Would you please read the transcript section?
Men AWOL from this organization. Corporals Arthur E. Hader, on the night of October 15th, disappeared from the battery. It appears that he, along with 4 others, boarded a train some distance from the station at this village and are endeavoring to make their way to the front. Oh, it seems that these men were tired of the routine of the service here and desired to get up into more active conditions.
Yeah, okay. Bill, rather than run away from
they ran to it. Okay, so never mind. He's not like me at all. I thought he was like, then AWOL. I was like, there you go. That sounds like me. He was a man. So I'm a descendant of an actual, like, man.
Can you, in your wildest dreams, see yourself doing what he did?
No. No.
There's also the stigma around anxiety, too, where everyone has anxiety. So, you know, I remember at Saturday Night Live not realizing it was anxiety and people saying, you know,
you're faking it, right?
Stop being melodramatic.
Right.
You know, stop being dramatic. You know, and I can't breathe. Will you relax? And the kind of popular culture version of that is somebody who's annoying. You know what? It's funny because a lot of it is messing up. And now when I write on Barry, we write on these big monitors, and a lot of times I'll be sitting at the laptop and it's hooked up to a big monitor that the whole writing room can see. And so they're seeing what I'm typing, and I can't spell to save my life.
Right.
And I have terrible grammar. And but the ideas are there and the inspiration's there. And so it's kind of this thing that in the past I would have been so ashamed of. You know, I used to write papers and give them to friends and go, you know, close, like best friend, and say, can you please read this and see if it's, you know. To be honest, what helped me get through it seems weird, was having kind of heroes, kind of filmmaking heroes and comedy heroes, that, you know, and reading their stories and going, well, God, they did this, and getting inspired by it.
Right.
So then you saw like a road that you could go down, and that kind of alleviated anxiety. You know, oh, I can get a job as production assistant. I can meet people. Like, I had a plan, and that would alleviate. But I would constantly go back. I remember I would read interviews with certain filmmakers or sketch comedy people or anything, and I would reread interviews to kind of calm myself down and be like, oh no, you're on the right track, this is all right. So yeah, I remember meeting Lauren, and that I was very calm during it. I wasn't very, because I just thought, well, this is never happening, this is never going to happen. And that was one of the very rare instances where I was very calm. And then once I had the thing, then it was 8 years of the worst anxiety of my life.
Literally.
Yeah.
And was it the fact that it was live?
Yeah.
So there was no do-overs. So
no do-overs, live, full-blown panic attacks before every show, heart palpitations. You know.
Don't go see a psychiatrist then?
I did after I started seeing a psychiatrist, I think, after my third season, you know. But it was
Did you get a diagnosis? Did they say it's
They just said, yeah, you just have an anxiety disorder. Because, I mean, I would become convinced that the lights would fall in the middle of a scene. I would become convinced that someone was going to rush the stage. I became convinced that
your brain was really playing.
Misfiring all over the place. And then I had this issue with my eye. I had this retina issue where I got vasculitis in my retina, which I think was brought on by stress. But it was, and doctors, going to a doctor's office and they go, we don't know what caused it, and then your brain and then everything elevated on that. And then to make this calm down, they had to give me prednisone. So then I was off.
Got manic.
Manic-y, yeah. It was pretty bad. And so what helped me was meditation. I started doing transcendental meditation. That helped me kind of calm and focus my brain. And just this kind of like, I mean, it was a thing I was fighting, I guess. And I used to make fun about eating well and exercise and just trying to boost serotonin and calm down the body and try to center the body. It's still there. The anxiety is always there.
Did anyone try to help you with some cognitive behavioral therapy? Because the way we think affects the way we feel, which affects the way we behave. So, I think I'm awful and I'm lazy, and then someone gets you to do a jog with them, so maybe I'm not that lazy, and then maybe I start thinking differently. So you get a toolbox.
I did something. I didn't know that was what it was called.
Right.
Yeah, but that was helpful.
Can you hold on to those tools?
No, I mean, that was very helpful, and also just not having the stigma of needing help, especially in our society and stuff. It felt very, oh gosh, I'm seeing a therapist or whatever. Because then I would say quietly, like, hey, I'm seeing a therapist, and the person would be like, I'm seeing a therapist.
Right.
Then I go,
you forgot
everybody's seen a therapist.
You were in New York.
Yeah, the cab driver is like, oh, is this your therapist? This is my therapist, and you're like, oh, okay, all right. But the biggest thing that helped me, I think, was realizing that this is just something I have to manage. It's a chronic thing I have to manage.
I think accepting it is really the first step.
Yeah,
because if you pretend it's not there, it's going to get
pretend it's not there, or that you're going to make it go away.
Right.
And you just go, it's here. I have this. Let me just accept it and try to move through it instead of obsessing over getting rid of it.
Right.
And once you relax, you feel funky for a little bit, and then it kind of ebbs away. And I think it was the freaking out and trying to push it away, that was perpetuating it, and you get in this kind of cycle.
You might say that life totally came together by the fact that you get a really good paying job, right? Mm-hmm. Steady job.
Yeah.
Socially, your life kind of comes together too, right?
Yeah.
And yet, it sounds like your anxiety
is through the roof.
Instead of, it's like everything is finally falling into place. You're not riding around, looking for a job. You have a job.
No, that's the weird thing about this. And then it always gets worse. It's people go, gosh, I remember getting, Barry and walking through Times Square, and I was hosting Saturday Night Live. I was walking through Times Square with a friend, and we looked up, and there's this massive Barry billboard in Times Square.
And you're part of the billboard, right?
Yeah, and I'm part, and it's me.
Yes.
The whole billboard's me.
Right.
And he sees me, he's like, wow, how cool is that? And I go, this is the worst moment of my life. I'm like, this, I can't handle this. I just wanted to curl into a ball. And yeah, both times I've hosted SNL were I was just a full-on wreck.
Even though it's
I've
just a one-time thing,
yeah,
right?
Just having the whole show on your shoulders and having to know and not so much of it's not trusting yourself that you can deliver and that everyone's watching, and a lot of it is anticipation. It's just the anticipation of it, and then
it's called anticipatory anxiety is real.
Yeah,
you worry about the worry.
Yeah, you worry about the worry, and then the weird thing is, I talked to another friend who has anxiety, and she said, but when bad things happen, do you kind of relax? And I go, yeah.
You're expecting
and
it.
I go, oh, good, there it is. Okay, and at Saturday Night Live, what helped me with my anxiety, I realized one part of my anxiety there was getting my lines right. So I would obsessively read my scripts because I was just completely convinced I would blow my line. Mm-hmm. So what I would do is, I played a lot of game show hosts on the show, and what I would do is if I had, my first line was, hello, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. Instead of saying that, I would say, hello, ladies and gentlemen, how are we doing tonight? In my mind, it went, oh, you just blew it, right? And then I would go,
you're done. I blew it.
I blew it, and you would relax, and then you would go on with it, and then I'd be kind of more relaxed because it was the thing I was afraid of happened, and I'm still here, I'm still on the show.
And he didn't fire you. And he didn't fire you.
I didn't get fired. Yeah, nothing happened. No light fell on me. It was all that stuff. Before I would make an entrance, that's when I would start shaking, and they would, put their hand on my back and go, hey, it's gonna be all right.
So when you're anxious, how's your sleep? Can you always sleep? Do you not sleep?
No, when I'm, it depends. When I was on Saturday Night Live, especially the first 2 seasons, I couldn't sleep, especially the night before the show. But sometimes starting Thursday, if I knew I had a big show. And I remember one time I was in the cold open, the very first sketch of the night, and it was just me. I was playing Elliot Spitzer, and I didn't sleep all week. I remember the day that Sunday, I didn't sleep all week. Did the show, and Sunday morning woke up with a fever. Like my body just completely collapsed.
So what happens when you lie down? Your mind was racing?
Yeah, just racing and jittering and kind of sitting up, and when you start to relax, thought comes in, you might blow it, and you get up, and then you're like, I can't relax. I crave like sugar, just anything that makes you happy, anything to kind of alleviate, so I tend to I'll put on weight when I'm really having massive anxiety attack. Yeah. The big thing is that stigma of, okay, everybody has anxiety, and I get it where a lot of people say they're anxious and they don't have, everybody gets anxious, but it's not a disorder. And people going like, all right, anxiety, it can be kind of a word that makes people roll their eyes and think there's, it's an excuse for not wanting to work or for doing bad or whatever. But, if it is a disorder and you know it and you've worked and you get diagnosed with it or whatever, it's a thing that you have to just accept and not let that idea of you being perceived as melodramatic or distant, that's another thing. I think people see me get very quiet or distant when I get anxious because I'm trying to think or kind of quiet my mind or try to focus on something. I think the best thing to do is just go and talk to somebody about it, because I wish I had just been more open about it, about how I was feeling, instead of going, oh, yeah, you're just a worrywart, get over it.
I mean, you said something really, I love this line, I wouldn't have lived life afraid.
Yeah, I didn't want to live life afraid. Yeah, that's kind of how that sums it up, and it was something that you were keeping within you, at all times, and trying to not just burden other people with it so much as be perceived as melodramatic or whatever, or a nuisance. And so that was always the the thing. But but deep down, yeah, I was very, very afraid.
What about the fact that I've read that you don't like to watch your movies.
Yeah, I don't like watching myself. Yeah,
you're the director. Don't you have to watch the film?
Yeah, no, Judd Apatow loves that. Because I wouldn't watch Trainwreck or any of the movies I've done for him. I don't like watching myself, and then he loves that I have to sit through months of editing and watch myself.
Do you like
every
what
day.
you look like, or
no?
No,
I don't like the way I look or sound or anything. If I didn't have it, I don't know if I would be as I would. There's something about being able to have to move up against something, to get where you want to go. And when you have like some sort of an obstacle if you have an obstacle there, you work harder.
Right.
And you get mad at it, and then you say, well, I'm not going to just act in Barry. I'm going to write and direct it. Watch me. You know what I mean? I'm going to go up and I'm going to keep going at it, you know? And my SNL contract ended at 7 seasons, and I was like, I'm going to do an 8th season. Watch this. The biggest thing that I wish I had known was that you are going to make a mistake, and and you're going to be fine, And the best thing is to learn from that mistake, meaning you raise your hand and you don't know the answer to the question. Is to say you're going to be hard on yourself, and being hard on yourself, all that stuff that never really goes away, is just accepting that about yourself and changing other things of going like, well, if that happens again, know that now I do know that, and now it made me study a little harder, or whatever. But I guess the simple thing is that it doesn't go away, you just manage it. And once you kind of can accept it about yourself and not see yourself as a nuisance or someone that is not taking on other people's perception, and just knowing that you can work through it, and you can actually use it to your advantage. You can use that energy and that voice in your head. You can somehow use it to propel yourself into things that you never thought you could ever do, because the voice in your head is wrong.